In 2024, dog-related injury claims cost insurance companies over $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B. The average claim was almost $70,000. And most of the people who got hit with those claims had no idea how much was at stake until it happened. If you own a dog, your homeowner's or renter's insurance probably covers you if your dog injures someone. But there are situations where it doesn't, and there are situations where the coverage you have isn't nearly enough. And depending on what state you live in, the rules around what your carrier can and can't do about your dog may be very different from what you'd expect. I run an independent insurance agency. We write homeowners, renters, and umbrella policies in Nevada, Arizona, Utah, and California. And animal liability is one of those topics most people don't think about until a claim happens. So let's walk through how animal liability actually works on your insurance policy. What's covered, what's not, what happens after a bite, and what you need to know about breed restrictions in the states we operate in. Your homeowner's or renter's insurance includes personal liability coverage. That's the part of your policy that protects you if someone gets injured on your property or because of something you're responsible for. That includes your dog. If your dog bites a guest in your home, bites someone at the park, or injures a neighbor's pet, your liability coverage can pay for the injured person's medical bills, legal defense costs, and any settlement or judgment if you're sued. Most homeowners' policies include $100,000 and $300,000 in liability coverage. Some go up to $500,000. There's also a smaller coverage called medical payments to others. That's usually between $1,000 and $5,000. It pays for minor injuries regardless of fault. So if your dog nips someone and they need a few stitches, that coverage can handle it without a full liability claim being filed. But here's where it gets important. If the injury is serious, a child gets bitten in the face, someone needs surgery, there's scarring or disfigurement, the costs can blow past your liability limits fast. The average dog bite claim in 2024 was almost $70,000. That's the average. Severe cases go much higher. There was a case in Georgia where a jury awarded over $4 million to a woman bitten by a neighbor's dog. If the claim exceeds your policy limits, you're paying the rest out of pocket. And keep in mind, $70,000 is the average. If your dog bites a child at a birthday party and they need surgery, a plastic surgeon, and there's permanent scarring, that claim isn't $70,000. That's a six-figure case at least. That's where an umbrella policy becomes critical, and we'll come back to that. There are several situations where your policy may not cover an animal liability claim at all. First, if your dog has a bite history. If your dog has bitten someone before and your carrier knows about it, they may add an animal exclusion to your policy. That means any future claims involving that dog are excluded from coverage. Some carriers will non-renew your policy entirely after a bite claim. Second, if you didn't disclose your dog. When you apply for homeowners or renters insurance, most carriers ask whether you have a dog. If you say no or don't mention it and then a claim happens, the carrier can deny the claim on the basis that you misrepresented your risk. Not disclosing a pet to your insurance company is one of the easiest ways to end up with a denied claim. Third, animal liability sublimits. Some carriers build animal liability sublimits into their base policies. That means even though your policy might have $300,000 in general liability, the amount available for an animal-related claim could be capped at a lower number. You might not know this unless you read the policy or ask your agent. It's worth checking. Fourth, animal liability exclusions in the base policy. Depending on the state and the carrier, some homeowners' policies exclude animal liability entirely in their base coverage. It's not common everywhere, but it does exist. If your policy has this exclusion, you have zero coverage for a dog bite unless you've added it back through an endorsement or a separate policy. This is one of the things most people would never think to look for, which is exactly why you should ask your agent directly whether animal liability is included in your policy or excluded. Fifth, Breed restrictions. This is a big one and it varies significantly by state. Some carriers maintain breed lists, dogs that they consider higher risk and either won't cover or will exclude from liability coverage. The breeds that typically show up on these lists include pit bulls, Rottweilers, Doberman Pinschers, German Shepherds, Akitas, Chow Chows, and Wolf hybrids, among others. But whether your carrier can actually use breed to make coverage decisions depends on where you live. This is where it gets interesting, especially if you live in one of the states we operate in. In 2022, Nevada passed Senate Bill 103. This law prohibits insurance companies from refusing to issue, canceling, refusing to renew, or increasing premiums based solely on the breed of dog at the property. Carriers in Nevada cannot ask you what breed your dog is. They can ask whether your dog has ever been declared dangerous or vicious under state law, but they cannot use breed as a factor in any underwriting or pricing decision. Nevada was the first state in the country to pass a law this strong on breed discrimination in insurance. Now here's the nuance. A carrier in Nevada can still decide whether or not they want to cover dogs at all. They can still take underwriting action based on an individual dog's behavioral history. If the dog has bitten someone, if the dog has been declared dangerous, what they can't do is use the breed itself as the reason. Arizona passed a similar law in 2022 that took effect in 2023. Under this law, breed cannot be the sole factor used in underwriting, questionnaires, or coverage decisions related to dogs. Carriers can still exclude coverage for liabilities arising from possession of any dog, and they can still act on a dog's history of viciousness, but they cannot single out a breed and make a coverage decision based on that alone. The difference between Nevada and Arizona is subtle but real. Nevada says breed cannot be a factor at all. Arizona says breed cannot be the sole factor. In practice, the outcome is similar, but the legal standard is slightly different. Utah does not have a specific law prohibiting carriers from using breed in insurance underwriting. The state does prohibit municipalities from passing breed-specific legislation, so cities in Utah can't ban specific breeds. But insurance carriers are not covered by that restriction. In practice, breed exclusions are uncommon in Utah, but they're not legally prohibited. If your carrier in Utah wants to exclude your Rottweiler from coverage, there's no state law stopping them. California also does not currently have a breed discrimination law for insurance. Carriers in California can still use breed lists, deny coverage, or exclude liability for specific breeds. There's ongoing advocacy to change this, but as of right now, if you're a homeowner or renter in California with a dog on a carrier's restricted list, you may face higher premiums, exclusions, or difficulty finding coverage. So if you're in Nevada or Arizona, you have legal protection. If you're in Utah or California, you need to be more careful about understanding what your specific carrier's policies are regarding your dog. Let's say your dog bites someone and a claim is filed. Here's what typically happens. The injured person files a claim against your homeowner's or renter's liability coverage. Your carrier investigates. They'll look at what happened, where it happened, the severity of the injury, and the history of the dog. If the claim is covered, your carrier pays the medical bills and legal costs up to your policy limits. If there's a lawsuit, your carrier provides legal defense. But after the claim is settled, here's what changes for you. Your carrier may non-renew your policy at the next renewal. They may add an animal exclusion to your policy going forward, meaning your dog is no longer covered. They may increase your premium, or in some cases, they may cancel your policy mid-term. This is a real problem for dog owners because once you have a bite claim on your record, finding new coverage can be difficult. Some carriers won't write you at all, others will write you but exclude the dog. And if you can't find homeowners insurance on your own, your lender won't just let it slide. They'll force place a policy on your property, which is significantly more expensive and provides less coverage than what you'd get on the open market. Your homeowner's or renter's policy provides liability coverage up to its limit, typically $100,000 to $300,000, but dog bite claims can easily exceed that, especially if the injury is severe or if a lawsuit goes to trial. An umbrella policy provides an additional layer of liability coverage, typically starting at $1 million. This sits on top of your homeowner's or renter's policy. If a dog bite claim exceeds your underlying limits, the umbrella kicks in to cover the rest. For dog owners, this is one of the most important coverages you can carry. The cost of an umbrella policy is usually a few $100s a year for $1 million in additional coverage. When you compare that to the potential cost of a serious bite claim, $70,000 on average, and much higher in severe cases, the math isn't close. One thing to be aware of: if your homeowner's carrier has excluded your dog from liability coverage, your umbrella may not cover the dog either. The umbrella typically follows the terms of the underlying policy. So if the underlying policy has an animal exclusion, the umbrella probably won't fill that gap. This is something to discuss with your agent to make sure there isn't a hole in your coverage. Dogs account for the vast majority of animal liability claims, but they're not the only exposure. If you own horses, livestock, or exotic animals, your standard homeowner's policy may not cover them at all. Horses in particular typically require a separate equine liability policy. If your horse kicks someone or escapes and causes a car accident, your homeowner's policy is unlikely to respond. Cats also create liability, though it's far less common. Cat scratches that lead to infection or a cat that injures a neighbor's pet could technically trigger a liability claim. The general rule is if you own an animal that could injure someone, make sure you understand whether your policy covers it and under what circumstances. Here's what I'd recommend if you own a dog or any animal that could create a liability exposure. Disclose your pet insurance to your carrier. Don't hide it. If you don't disclose and a claim happens, you're risking a denial. Understand your state's laws. If you're in Nevada or Arizona, your carrier can't use breed against you. If you're in Utah or California, they can, so ask your agent directly what your carrier's position is on your dog. Check your liability limits. If you have the standard $100,000, that may not be enough if your dog causes a serious injury. Consider increasing to $300,000 or $500,000. It's really inexpensive. Get an umbrella policy. For a few $100s a year, you can get $1 million or more in additional liability protection. For dog owners, this is one of the best investments you can make. Ask about animal exclusions. If your policy has one, you need to know about it, and you need a plan to fill that gap, either through a different carrier or a standalone animal liability policy. If you're a homeowner or renter in Nevada, Utah, Arizona, or California, and you want to make sure your coverage actually protects you if your pet injures someone, we can help. We work with multiple carriers, and we understand how breed laws and underwriting guidelines work in each of our states. Whether you need a new homeowner's policy, an umbrella, or a standalone animal liability solution, we'll review your policy and tell you exactly how your dog is treated under your current carrier. No guessing. There's a link below to get a quote or just give us a call. Check out our Google reviews to see what our clients have to say. And if you want to learn more about how an umbrella policy works and why it's one of the best values in your insurance program, I made a video on that. It's right here. Thanks for watching.